The first wave of Dominaria United spoilers have just been revealed, and the set is looking absolutely insane. On top of that, apparently, the priceless treasures rumor was true, and Wizards of the Coast is including cards from the original Legends set in Dominaria United boosters.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about some Magic the Gathering insanity. Wizards of the Coast just did their Dominaria pre-beat, which is where they give us our first taste of Dominaria United. Not only did we get a bunch of spoiler cards, but we've got confirmation that Wizards of the Coast actually opened up a whole bunch of boxes from the original Legends set that was made back in 1994. This set was only available for 2 weeks and is insanely rare. One booster pack costs $1,000 to buy, okay? So these are insane. In fact, I opened one of these boosters on this channel less than a month ago. I'll leave a link on the screen at the end if you want to see the process of it. The booster pack is amazing and awesome. But anyways, Legends is this super scarce stuff. Wizards of the Coast is including cards pack fresh from Legends inside of collector boosters specifically for Dominaria United. Now, bear in mind, they are giving us a ridiculously made up story where they're like, yo, we found these boxes of Legends in a warehouse. We had no idea they were here. But then when you watch the video where they're talking about it, this guy's like, so we were driving out to the facility. It was like a 3-hour drive or whatever with my boss. And it's like, we were going out there to see if it was out there. It's like, so you like basically already knew it was there. They didn't even like make the mythology properly around it. They did this before where they tried to pretend like, yo, this Cold Snap set we're making, it was actually an old file that we found and we pulled it out and dusted it off and here we go, we built on it. So they're trying to pretend like, hey, we just found these Legends boxes in a warehouse, but we also sent people to specifically go get them. So forget that part of it. But bear in mind, watching the little clip of them actually like rolling the cases of Legends in is mind-blowing. There are so many boxes of Legends on the table, and you're just like, ah! I was literally at the stream, typing in the stream, because it is absolutely incredible. You need to see it. I cannot emphasize enough how amazing it is to see that much Legends stuff on the table. And not only are they taking these older Legends cards and inserting them into boosters, but they're also taking old Legends from the original days and reinventing them as new Legends. So we're getting 20 different Legends that are being done as box toppers for this set. Ramirez de Petrio, Torwaki, people like that. Jasmine Boreal finally gets the justice that she deserves and is no longer a complete piece of trash. So, talking about the Legends thing and them being included in the booster packs, almost all of the cards from the set are available. However, a few of them are not available. And we're actually going to talk about that in a live stream over on my Hatcher channel tonight because some of the reasons behind this are pretty nutty. So we'll dive into that. But I believe we've said enough without looking at Magic cards. So let's go look at some Magic cards. We're starting straight out with a powerhouse Planeswalker in the form of Jaya Fiery Negotiator. 2 red and 2 for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker, has 4 abilities, the first of which is +1, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. And if you don't know what prowess is, it says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So obviously, if you're playing a bunch of burn spells, they're going to be growing those little monks so you can run in hardcore for the damage. And that's a +1 ability. Then you've got -1, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them, you may play that card this turn. Then you've got -2, choose target creature an opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya Fiery Negotiator deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. So that's her idea of negotiation. Burn! That's a fun concept. and a weird planeswalker ability. Then you have the ultimate, which is -8. You get an emblem with, whenever you cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copy. So yes, getting to the 8 to do the full-on ultimate is going to be a lot, but it is going to feel amazing when you do it. Getting to cast all these extra spells for free is absolutely a lot of fun. And you can see we've got two different variations of the artwork. Both of them are pretty intense. In one, you've got her standing there at the head of an army of what looks kind of like orcs with gigantic blades ready to go. I am assuming that this is part of a massive coalition facing off against the Phyrexians. Spoiler alert, we're going to be looking at some Phyrexian action today too. But you've got her here standing in front of troops. You've got the other version here where she's standing in front of some kind of like half destroyed looking building, looking super epic solitary style. And the emblem also looks really nice too. Speaking of looking nice, Temporal Firestorm has amazing artwork. But first, let's talk about what the card actually is. 2 red and 3 for a sorcery that has kicker of either a white and 1 or a blue and 1. And if you pay the kicker, then you get to choose up to X creatures and or planeswalkers you control, where X is the number of times this spell was kicked. Those permanents phase out. So basically, you can go, hey, we're going to grab planeswalkers and shunt them off to safety. Now, why would you do that? Or creatures as well. Why would you do that? Well, because Temporal Firestorm is going to do 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So the idea behind the artwork here and the concept of this card is this Jaya and Teferi teaming up in this epic magical combination to fight against the Phyrexian incursion, and they're taking fire magic and time magic and turning them to this crazy inferno where Teferi is literally pulling people out through time, throwing them out into non-existence for the briefest of moments so that they won't be obliterated by this fire. And the flavor on that is absolutely epic. Look at the artwork. Jaya's there right in the center with the flames swirling around her, and Teferi is up in the air looking like a god with his arms spread, looking mega intense. This artwork is so epic, man. Dominaria United is looking so hype. Speaking of which, let's look at Shivan Devastator. Let's keep the red powerhouse times going. 1 red and X gets you a Mythic Dragon Hydra. What do you get for that casting cost? You get a flyer with haste that enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. It's essentially a flying fireball, right? I mean, it sticks around from turn to turn if your opponent doesn't smoke it, but it literally is the equivalent of a gigantic burn spell, right? 1 red and X to do X damage to a target. So you just go, boom, I turned it into a dragon and it's flying straight at your face. Like, this is awesome. It ties into the Shivan dragons that originally come from Dominaria. It evokes the fullest sense of a red burn spell, and it taps into the awesomeness of dragons. Ultimately, when you look at this design, you go, wait, couldn't they and shouldn't they have done this earlier? It feels almost super obvious. You know, one of those designs where when you see it, it's like, this should have been in Magic all along. I really like this. I guess the reason it wasn't is because this is super powerful too, right? Like, if you think about it, you can swing in with it right away, and if they don't have answers to it, like they can't stop it, then you're just gonna steamroll over them. And the flavor text says, there were many reasons why Shiv was not high on Shieldred's list of places to conquer. Big, fiery reasons. The flavor text literally references how the Phyrexians don't want to deal with this Hydra dragon. It's such a cool concept, and look at the artwork. It's fully what it delivers. You've got a dragon that is a Hydra at the same time. This is so epic. After that, we get to see some full-on Phyrexian action. This is Evolved Sleeper, and I love this card. This is such a fun concept. It takes the idea of Figure of Destiny back from the Lorwyn block, and it turns it into a Phyrexianized concept that feels very, very right. So Evolved Sleeper is 1 black for a 1/1 human. Now, if you don't know what sleepers are, they're essentially agents of Phyrexia, but they're created to look like regular humans. This is all part of the original Brothers War storyline, right? So these sleeper agents can be evolved into better versions of themselves. They all start out as regular, pretty much humans, and then as you add in magic and different kinds of gear, they beef up. And you can see that in the abilities. For 1 black mana, he becomes a human cleric with base power and toughness 2/2. So you've infused black mana into him, some Phyrexian action, and now he is venerated as a cleric and has become twice as strong. Now you can pay 1 black and 1, and if Evolved Sleeper is a cleric, you put a death touch counter on it, and it becomes a Phyrexian human cleric with base power and toughness 3/3. So this represents the next step on its journey to completion. All Phyrexian sleeper agents, all Phyrexian newts, they all want to be completed, the process of becoming perfect, right? So this is like the mid step. Now you're not just a regular human cleric. You have been brought into Phyrexia. The Phyrexian oil is flowing through your veins. And as a result, you gain death touch and become even beefier and stronger. And then there's another ability as well. 2 black and 1. If Evolved Sleeper is a Phyrexian, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So you can keep growing this thing and drawing cards. So basically the idea is it's growing in power, and as it grows in power in the area that it's in, it can kind of gain more power for you, more knowledge, whatever it is, and deliver it to you, because sleeper agents serve multiple purposes. Some of them are kind of put into the population without even knowing who they are, ready to be activated when Phyrexia is ready for them. Other ones, like Carrick, for example, are sent out on specific missions. Carrick was sent out to find Urza. Man, I absolutely love the tie into the old school story action. I love Dominarians versus Phyrexians was the culmination of my favorite storyline of all time in Magic the Gathering. So hearkening back to it with this is amazing. You've got all these abilities that genuinely do feel like you're evolving a sleeper agent, and the artwork shows it as well, right? This guy is strapped up with what would really, in most cases, look like torture devices. But when you look at his face, he's got a serene look, like this is some sort of blissful, transcendent experience. What a great way to transmit the concept of Phyrexia. I love this card. After that, we've got an awesome concept. They're taking original cards from the Legends set, and they're redoing them as better versions. So, Jasmine Boreal is the first one we're going to look at. The original was 5 mana for a 4/5, and you had to pay a green and a white as part of that 5 mana for a vanilla. Awesome Richard Kane Ferguson artwork. But now we have Jasmine Boreal of the 7. 1 white, 1 green, and 1 for a 2/4 legendary human druid. Tap her to add a green and a white. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells with no abilities. Creatures you control with no abilities can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. This is a really cool concept. The idea that you can have this mana, but it can only be used to summon up creatures that don't have abilities. It ties into the idea of being a druid and keyed into nature, where you just want the most simple beasts, you know, bears and boars, creatures that may be 2/2s, 3/3s, but ultimately have no abilities whatsoever. And then there's a way to commune with those abilities, the creatures that have no abilities, and grant them essentially an ability without them having an ability. It's like you have no ability, but I'm giving you the ability to not be blocked by creatures that have abilities, which is pretty funky. The idea that these creatures are so simple that maybe because they have really simple minds and no abilities, they can kind of be blended into nature, like shaped into it, and elude past higher thinking like beings that have abilities and stuff. I don't know. It's just really cool flavor, right? And you look at the artwork and you can see her there. She's sitting on this like stag, just, hey man, I'm just hanging out in the autumnal forest. It's a good vibe. The flavor text says, I've had my adventures. All I wish now is to sit in peace and speak with the pines. And that has some nice flavor to it. And we actually get multiple. There's going to be 20 different legends retold, and we get 3 different ones. So the next one we get is Torwalkie the Younger, and this is before he got the questionable armor that he wears in the original Legends version. I mean, that armor is pretty funny. But anyways, the new Torwalkie is 1 red, 1 black, and 3 for a 3/3 legendary human archer with reach and lifelink. If another source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +1 to that permanent or player instead. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Torwalkie the Younger deals 2 damage to any target. This is a really solid card, right? Overall, especially for an uncommon. You look at it, every instant or sorcery is going to do 2 damage to any target, and it's going to give you lifelink. Reach feels right with the archer ability, and the fact that Tor basically is like, yo, are you doing something over there? I'll fire an arrow into it too, bro. Like, that's what the extra 1 damage feels like, is he's just like, yo, whatever you're doing, it's just like, bam, 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 I'll fire arrows. But not in combat, only when you're casting spells and stuff. That's when I'll get on board. So when you look at the artwork, it does look pretty straightforward. You've got Torwalkie there with his little bow and arrow ready to go. He's pointing it off. Apparently you've cast some kind of spell that he's adding on to. And he's got the target in the background with the arrows all festered up into it too. So, I mean, that's not too shabby. And then the third legend retold that we have to talk about is Ramirez de Petrio, Pillager. So he's back as a pirate. 1 black, 1 blue, and 2 gets you a 4/3. When he enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life and create 2 treasure tokens because he's a bloodthirsty pirate. And whenever 1 or more pirates you control deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. Now, interestingly enough, this isn't an ability that says you can spend mana as it was if mana of any color, right? You do have to have the right colors of mana, but when he shows up on the battlefield, you do get 2 treasure tokens. So he does give you the ability to at least pillage a little, and I like the idea of a pillager, like, I'm coming in to smash your life, bro. I'm taking some of your life, but here's some treasure, right? So if I didn't already mention it, these Legends Retold cards are actually box toppers. So there will be 1 of 20 different variants as a box topper, but you can also get them inside of collector boosters. When you take a look at the artwork, this is admittedly a fairly standardized pirate. He does fall victim to what I found happens in more recent times. It happened to Stang as well. There are a lot of talented artists that do Magic the Gathering artwork, but sometimes legendary characters end up feeling more generic. And I have to admit that this really does just feel like a random pirate from Ixalan. It doesn't really evoke a full-on, like, Legends Retold vibe. It's a cool card for sure, but just the artwork and everything to me feels blandish compared to the character that the original artwork had, right? But ultimately, that's all of the spoilers that we have to talk about in terms of non-land cards. But you have to see the land cards because they are absolutely incredible. They are doing stained glass basic lands. I am such a sucker for stained glass, and these are awesome. And there's a bunch of cards that are getting stained glass treatment. So Dominaria United is genuinely looking like it's going to be a mega hype set. Thanks for coming by, my friends. Shout out to my patrons, and I will see you all next time.